Hello and welcome to Repairs Around. Today we're going to be talking about brake controllers. Now, the type we're going to be talking about today isn't what we most of the time see these days. Most of the time we see your wireless type that can connect to your phone, such as the Kurt Echo or Concha has one or something like that. We're going to be talking about a hardwired brake controller today. Whether that's a timed brake controller or a proportional type of brake controller, they're going to be wired the same. A little difference in the action in them. On a timed brake controller, what happens is the voltage increases over a period of time, and that's how the brakes activate more and more as you continue on. And then a proportional style is almost built with like a pendulum or a bubble, depending on the manufacturer. And as the brakes in your truck are applied, the motion or the swing of that bubble or pendulum in there will actually proportionally push that voltage back to the trailer to apply the brakes accordingly based on the truck's motion. Now, what we have here in this schematic type is just the basic wire up of a brake controller. Now, it is missing some components that I'll pull up here after this, but I want to talk about what the four wires that actually come out of the brake controller are. It's going to be your white wire, and that's always going to be your ground, and that can be attached to a ground really anywhere. Now, the best place is to attach it to the ground near the battery or a ground post under the hood or something like that of the tow vehicle, but any ground will do as long as it's a solid ground. Next is going to be the red wire. The red wire itself is from the brake light of the vehicle. So it gets attached to what's called the cold side of the brake switch. What the cold side means on pretty much every vehicle these days, it means that when the brakes are not applied, that wire is going to read ground. But as soon as the brakes are applied, it turns into 12 volt positive. So that's what's going to be your cold side of the brake switch, and that will always attach to your red wire. Your black wire, okay, right here, this is going to be consistent power from the battery, okay? Now, you'll see here in this schematic, they put a 20 amp auto reset breaker, and that is super important to have an auto reset because sometimes we could pull enough amperage, which could cause a fuse to pop when we're running the brakes. We want to give the opportunity for customers, if they do pull too much amperage or something abnormal happens, for that auto reset breaker to reset and give the opportunity for that customer to continue having brakes during their journey. So auto reset breaker is important when it comes to that, and that's going to be between the wire that goes to the battery and to the brake controller. The blue wire, this is where the power gets sent out to the 7-way, the trailer connector. So when we apply the brakes here, okay, this red wire is going to receive a 12 volt signal. It's going to go in here. It's going to take the 12 volt power that's coming from here and proportionally send it through the blue wire based on the type of brake controller it is in, whether it's proportional or timed actuated. All right. Now, the only other things we kind of got here is I want to show you from the positive, we have our charge line. Now, on this schematic, they put a 40 amp auto reset breaker on it. When it comes to the charge line to the 7-way, it is a better decision to use a standard fuse because there's a lot of times where, say, a customer forgot to turn off some stuff inside their unit, 12 volt equipment in essence, and you're pulling a high amperage through it, and it ends up pulling through your 7-way, and you can continually keep tripping and resetting this breaker and tripping and resetting. It's not the greatest thing. It puts a lot of strain on the charge line and everything like that, and it could cause damage to the wiring by heating it up. So it's best to have just a fuse in this location rather than a auto reset breaker. All right, we talked about our 7-way and a couple of wires that were already in there, including our blue wire, which is for our electric brakes, and our black wire, which is for our charge line. There's going to be a couple more wires in there. We're going to talk about what they are. So I have a schematic here of a 4-way. It's very important. It's the basis around our 7-way because we need our trailering lights to be able to apply turn signals and everything like that for when we are towing down the road. So we're going to start here with our brown wire. Our brown wire is going to be for our tail lights. All right, so whenever 12 volts applied to the brown wire, it's going to be our tail lights. Also, it's going to illuminate the light for our license plate. The yellow wire is going to be our left turn signal, okay? And the green wire is going to be our right turn signal. And when we apply the brakes, both yellow and green will receive power to illuminate the brake lights. Now, the last wire in the 4-way is going to be the white wire, which is always going to be ground. And it's super important to have a good ground because you always have to finish when the circuit when it comes to 12-volt system. All right, so make sure you always have a good ground. Now, the last two wires that are going to be really in the 7-way. Technically, one other than the ground is going to be, if you come equipped with reverse lights, it's going to be the middle post of a 7-way. All right, so you're going to have the middle post of your 7-way. You're going to have your brown wire, which is your tail lights, your yellow wire, which is your left turn, your green wire, which is your right turn, white, which is ground, black, which is going to be your charge line, and then blue, which is going to be your trailer brakes. And that's the entire 7-way connectivity that we use for trailering in the RV industry. Now, I do have an example of a brake controller here. This one happens to be a Red Arc. A little different because this one comes in multiple pieces and something like a Tekonsha that's all in one piece. But very similar on how the way they work. This is going to be a proportional style brake controller. This is going to be the main unit. This generally gets tucked up under the dash somewhere and hidden away. And then this is going to be to adjust the actual gain or sensitivity on the brake controller, which will increase the voltage going to the brakes. So that way it can activate them more and more based on the proportional braking. This will also allow you, if you push it, to manually engage the brakes if you need to. Say you're going down a large hill or something like that. And then this is the wiring harness that goes in between this, and they do provide you with a kind of a clip that goes in the dash area to kind of finish this off and make it look nice. The last thing that I wanted to show you is really the wiring that we talked about earlier in this. All right, so we always start here with the ground. All right, white is always going to be ground. The red is going to be to that cold side of the brake switch. It's ground when it starts off and then positive when you apply the brakes. The blue, which is going to send the voltage out of the brake controller itself down through the wiring to apply the brakes. And then the black wires where you get power from the battery on this. But with that being said, that is Repairs with Ron. I appreciate you joining me. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out and have a great day.